Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Ru. Hello, hello, hello.
And Rang, I feel like we've gone back in time because on Slutsk East, I'm seeing a couple of very, very strange symbols. What's going on?
On left hand side, in blue, we have ourselves Hippocras playing its 352nd, balanced income, and on the right hand side, you're one of the new divisions, well, old, in a sense. 2nd Infantry, American, playing as Nilla of appropriate American flag, with a Vanguard income.
So, this has been one of the things that we've been talking about for quite a bit of time. They're bringing the West where East meets West. How does the Second Indian Head play on the Eastern Front?
Currently, right now, 2nd Infantry is a really goddamn good division, as they got a lot of infantry, and it's American infantry, mind you. Everyone's got semi-automatic rifles. They even got disheartened troops with semi-automatic rifles, and a lot of them. And the off-map, not the xylophone artillery piece, multiple rocket launcher systems, pretty bloody good. Decent tanks, decent anti-tank. They got bloody Gabby. They're a real force to be reckoned with, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get nerfed in the next patch or so.
Well, like you said, down south, you can actually take a look at one of those new squads going back to basics with two M1 carbines over here and 11 M1 Garands. It's nice to see that it's not just the Axis troops that don't want to fight. It's nice to see some light guys that are like, dude, I don't want to be here. I'm a rear echelon for a reason. So it's good to see that.
But they're definitely more well-equipped compared to the Axis
Yes.
troops. Like,
Yes.
20 points for 11 or 13 semi-automatic rifles? That's insane. That's a
Yeah.
lot of firepower.
The
Yeah.
DPS is definitely off the charts here. Worth noting though that we have the snipers as well. So the Americans finally get snipers.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, we're all seeing Saving Private Ryan. We kind of want goddamn American snipers.
Well, I admit, actually, I clicked one of the squads. I was Jackson. I was like, "Am I the sniper?" Nah, that's one of
Oh.
the basic. Um, but we can see already that the flamethrower troops down to the south, along with the basics, are holding their own. They're not taking any ground, but they're not losing it. So, against the 352nd, this could be kind of a fascinating matchup.
Yeah, 352nd is an okay infantry division, but it's not really due to the infantry. A lot of German infantry divisions, infantry is pretty meh, as the grenadiers are just very meh. But 352nd has Yak Panthers and all the crappy but kind of cool French tanks, such as the Char B runs and the Panzer B2 things. So it really requires more on that and the artillery side to be running battles.
I have a soft spot for the B2, other than the fact that it's got, like, soft armor.
Yeah.
But I have a soft spot because any single time you can put a demolisher cannon, I mean, a 75mm howitzer on a tank and be able to sleep at night, it's so perversely charming.
I really love the old, like, late 1930s idea of a heavy tank. Of, okay, we need two cannons on it. We need a turret
Exactly.
cannon, and then we need a hull-mounted cannon. Get on it, guys.
Now, I'm watching this aggression over here in the center, the south central part. You're looking at this small series of buildings, and the rifle squads with the BARs. I can't help but feel it. Somebody took a look at the Bren groups from all the British decks and basically said, we need to do something effective. You know what? Let's give them a couple of BARs instead.
And then a bunch of semi-automatic rifles to top things off.
Yep.
And a lot of artillery, as we got the American 60mm mortars firing.
That's kind of weird because if you actually look to the south, we have 81mm mortars and 107 as well. So I think there's been a proliferation of tube weaponry on the second Indian head from what we had in SD44.
Yeah. And also, the American mortars all have radios, so they're really accurate. Which is like none of a static mortar has bloody radios. So I see it is sniping across the map, and it was IG-18. That IG-18 is just getting buggered.
Just taking a quick look to the north, but not really a whole lot to write home about there. We are seeing a couple of M4A1s being agreed enough. I feel like the major thrust is, as it always seems to be, taking over this kind of high ridge. Kind of the south central part of this map. I'm trying to find another more characteristic or more kind of shocking reason for it, but see what we can do.
Yeah, Hippocrash really just bringing in, yeah, Sad Troop and Fusiliers, Stug. It's really, I mean, it's not gonna be enough, I think, to really hold off against Amberty. Oh, no, Amberty, bloody Nilla. That was last match. But Nilla bringing in some Rangers LMGs, and they're pretty scary.
Yes, they are. Bizarrely enough, the T-30 half track, basically the American pack track, is about as terrifying. Although it doesn't always get the highest targeting priority, but you can see it right now, causing a lot of consternation down to the south, just as another American assault column moves on in.
Mm-hmm.
More basics, more Rangers LMGs. We have two more Shermans moving on in. Like, this is a crack fighting force.
Yeah. It's a lot of dudes. And Nilla going really all out in A phase, hitting the beaches straight off with just all of these troops. And it's working quite well. Down southeast is pounding through Hippocrates' defenses. And yeah, Hippocrates, I think he's definitely has much more B phase, C phase focus in terms of infantry. I mean, pretty obvious with his income. As all he has is Ursat's trooping to hold his front line. And that's not going to be enough.
No, it isn't. Now, one thing actually I didn't really pay attention to, but I'm seeing right now is the Rangers actually are getting that Raider
Mm-hmm.
appellation. So just a quick reminder to folks. Obviously, of course, usually when your infantry is behind enemy lines, they tend not to like that very much. Commandos, those kind of more independently minded folks, have Raiders that don't kind of take the same penalties as most people do if they are cut off.
Yeah, which is pretty nice.
It certainly is. Now, Stroke has been deployed to the south. Part of that kind of, I would say, almost last-ditch immediate effort to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And we're lucky here that the Rangers don't have the same kind of anti-tank weaponry that you would see in something like Company of Heroes 2. Because otherwise, I feel like it would be dead a long time ago.
Oh. But the Shermans on the hill are actually getting some long-range pot shots on that Stug 3.
Ooh,
He's not having a good time.
Oh, and it looks like the howitzer track is down, which is very lucky for that Stoke. I think maybe he was the one who actually ended up killing it. And never mind, P40.
Yeah, just just plowing through the lines here for Nila. I mean, up in the like northern central position, southern central position, some sort of central position here. I mean, it's got like a hill under his control. Though he has no AT to kill at Panzer B2, but he has tanks nearby actually. So that is
Exactly.
AT.
Exactly. But you know what? Even if this poor guy goes down, he was a relic of another time, so it's kind of hard to hate on his performance here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the last, 352nd unit to even kind of hold out for that area. So, props to him? I don't know.
And he dies. It's really gonna come down to what Hippocrates has in B, and I hope he has. He's got a force lined up because he's gonna need it to try and take back that southern position.
Well, good luck doing that, because even if there isn't a ton of anti-tank here, even if what you have to depend on is that Stug, there's still so much infantry that retaking any kind of town is going to be a bit of a tough prospect.
Mm-hmm. He's really gonna need some artillery thrown in if he wants to try and take it.
They certainly are.
And got the 60mm mortars in the central position going to be pounding this IG-18. Or nearby IG-18.
Luckily for them, I mean, technically the Ranger LM, excuse me, not the Ranger LMGs, excuse me, the rifles don't technically have a radio, but all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem to matter much for the mortars as they just adjust a little bit and maybe start to pound further. Nope, never mind. Pound Town is not happening there. Very fortunate indeed. Sherman's getting a little bit too frisky, I feel like. Setting themselves up for a little bit of failure here.
Yeah. Yeah, they are pushing pretty hard. But they're doing a pretty good job of dealing with those Stugs. So I'd give them that. This overwhelming firepower. This other Stug in the central position needs to try and come in and help his buddy.
Ooh, good. I guess I was trying to see this Pack 40 engage down to the south, but he's on the wrong side of the tracks for that.
Mm-hmm.
He
There we
might
go.
get a shot or two off. No, he's going to start engaging the infantry. That's unfortunate.
Starting to get a northern push here from
Yeesh.
Nilla. I mean, he's a push on all fronts now. It's got the Shermans backed up with all those basics and riflemen spam.
But like you said, Second Indian Head was not was not terrible in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Back on the Western Front, so on the Eastern Front here, I feel like the redesign has definitely even made them more powerful than before.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next patch also they receive a nerf because they're definitely overperforming in terms of just their infantry effectiveness, and that's really due to the fact that in SD2 semi-automatic rifles are really goddamn good. Like pretty much the best infantry weapons to take. So the Americans really like that.
I'm watching the Volksdeutsche down here. Normally, you might be able to cheer for these guys, but disheartened troops against all these raiders and LMGs, they're going to get cut up.
Yeah, and the Raiders even have better LMGs, and more of them.
Yep.
Completely cutting those guys up, Jesus.
Yeah, this is kind of like the beginning of that, the finale of Saving Private Ryan, where they first just unleashed that first barrage.
Mm-hmm.
His two squads are completely down and ready. Stahlstruppen, yeah, Stahlstruppen are not going to do any better.
No.
If anything, I feel like the Volksdeutsche at least had some distance and some meat on their bones to kind of keep things competitive.
Oh. Best thing else Source Troop can do, I believe, yeah, they do have Molotovs. So their
Yes.
best bet is to try and yeet a Molotov in the general direction.
Yeah, but they still got to cross and get to 100 meters. Again, that
Yep.
innermost circle, they'd have to get into that, so good luck.
Got P-47 run on the Stug, but doesn't actually get off any rockets. The Messerschmitt coming in to actually pretty good effect to try and shoot him down.
Indeed. Indeed, but it's 18-6 right now, so things are starting to look a little bit dire.
Mm-hmm. Got M10 destroyers coming in for a bit of extra anti-tank. And yeah, just like northern push is going really well for Nilla with all that infantry.
You know, I'm having flashbacks to the Hellcat rushes from, what I want to say, correct?
From 4th Armoured.
Fourth Armor, thank you, I'm sorry. I don't know why. For some reason, it's that flip-flop. One was released, but yeah, so the Hellcat rushes and how just absolutely devastating they were.
Well,
Quite as
you can
devastating as
actually
it could
do
be.
that again because 2nd Infantry also has Hellcats.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
but they're not as good compared to ST-44, so you don't have to worry about that, guys. I believe they're only like a B-phase, C-phase unit, so it's a bit more reasonable. Because yeah, ST-44's Hellcat openers were annoying to say the least.
Almost as bad as the Marauder openings.
Mm. Yeah. And they'd
Man,
both come
alive,
out
that
at
was
the
awful.
same time. You'd be dealing with Hellcats, and then you'd be dealing with Marauders. You couldn't do anything.
They were just so freaking durable.
Yeah. And the Hellcats, the Marauder kills anything that's not a tank, and it stresses out tanks. The Hellcat would just knock out any armor. And then if you try to engage it, it would just run away because it's really fast.
Uh-huh. So actually, I'm sorry. I'm looking around here. I'm seeing the rifle leader down south suppressing incoming P grounds, essentially. And to the north, while we are seeing the SDKFZs aggressing across open ground, they had dropped off their infantry quite a bit of time before and are now paying for it. Two of them already going down to those Shermans. A lone Pack 40 trying to stay competitive.
Mm-hmm. Holding his ground against overwhelming odds. They got a kill.
Well, we might even see these rifle squads. The rifles are able to kill the SDKFZs.
Yeah.
And actually, they will probably even run out of ammunition as well. So Stahlstruppen probably push these guys back, but congratulations, you killed a rifle squad. That's what, all of 10 or 15 points.
Mm-hmm. And the mortars down south are just completely obliterating any infantry reinforcements that Hypo is bringing in.
Mm-hmm. or the one B2, who's just kind of standing off and barraging with that 75 millimeter cannon. But big stinking deal there.
Mm,
There has been enough infantry thrown at the Raider, the Rangers LMGs, that they've started to break consistently. They're down to just a fair few squads, but more being rushed into there. A couple to kind of stopgap, and then two more, I would argue, two more rifle squads being brought on in to support. So that's good.
yeah. It's just the second infantry is a really good job for just providing like a crazy amount of fire support on top of having really good infantry. Yeah, don't really need the fire support because they're really bloody good. It's just like overwhelming this American firepower. That's all I can think of.
Well, the only question really is, though, then what do you do to nerf them? Because all I can think is do price increases perhaps a little bit on some of their infantry.
Yeah, just
Make them keep. I mean, they're definitely much more powerful. So either you have to switch out the weapons loadout, or you have to make less of them and make them almost like the original peak runs were back with SD44.
Mm-hmm.
We had to fight at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also having like the radios and the mortars is
Absurd.
really good. I understand why you did that because Americans had really good just radio usage and communications in general, especially for the artillery. But as we can see in this case, it's really good in SD2 sense. And, yeah.
Well, you see right now too those P40s coming in. One took out this anti-tank gun to the north, a B2 to the south.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's going to be some tweaking that happens in terms of the accuracy of the P40. And I'm not trying to say that as some wereaboo defender over here, but rather I'm sure there's going to be some tweaking that's happening for the accuracy.
Yeah, well, something. Yeah, it's second infantry is very good, and I'm gonna guess that Hippo's or Hypo's, I should say, KD is not gonna be fantastic.
Which is unfortunate, but 352nd tends to have to really depend on those cheaper troops overall, and get value trades later. When you start behind the 8 ball, it's a bit of a rough place to be.
That wasn't as bad as I was expecting, actually. Only 1,000-point difference.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the vehicle kills, vehicle deaths, I'm sure we'll see the losses here in just a second. There's going to be 3 or 4 Shermans, but other than that, I don't feel like there's going to be a ton of death and destruction here. Oh. Yeah, the major kills are really all the Ranger T30 half tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second infantry is really good, as we can see. That's all I really have to say on that matter.
Exactly.
I think people have seen just the power of that division.
But it is fun to see old friends. I'm looking forward to seeing old friends actually with our next replay as well. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I believe we get a couple more divisions, don't we?
Yep.
Folks, that means then you definitely have to come back for the next one. Any final thoughts for this one, Ray?
None really.
Okay, well in that case, folks, we're going to head out for now. Remember to always tip your waitresses, but until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru, take it easy.